fully recommend it. Inside is your frameworks, the process that you follow, right? You break it down so well. But I want to cover a little bit of the case studies, right? Because somebody right now listening, they're like, right, but how does that apply to me? They could have a medium-sized following, big following, small following, but as we know, doesn't really matter. I would love to hear about some case studies. And actually, the first one I want to talk to is about this book. It's about our good friend, Paul Jameson. You introduced him to us. Yeah. We got the pleasure of actually meeting him live in one of the conferences. And he is a niche podcaster, right? So why don't you break down a little bit, kind of like what was the work that you did with him and some of the results that you guys got?
Yeah. So Paul is actually one of my longest running coaching clients. I mean, I think he holds the record for the single, the most like coaching calls that anyone's ever done with me is probably Paul. And so just a quick kind of context for Paul's business. So he runs a podcast called the Green Industry Podcast. And y'all listening are going to love this because he teaches lawn care professionals how to grow their business. And he's doing, somewhere between 130 and 150,000 downloads a month on his podcast. Yeah. And so how much more niche can you get for something like this? Yes. Right. And he, when we first started working together, he very much was frustrated because he was seeing these big numbers, right? He would go to kind of these local kind of meet and greets and in conferences, regional events and things like that. And he was kind of becoming almost like a little mini celebrity because people were wanting to take photos with him, ask for his autograph. So he was seeing a lot of these like kind of big download numbers, but he was like, where's the money? Like I'm not like, being able to cover my costs here. And he had an editor and he had, some people who were a producer who was helping him with stuff. And so he was just pretty frustrated because even though he was optimistic about, and remember, he still at that time had a lawn care business. So he was kind of doing the side hustle juggling act, right? With the business and the content creation stuff on the side. And so basically we started, he booked like a coaching call at the very beginning. And he kind of just did this dump, to me of like, here's everything that's like going on right now. And I just don't know what to do. I've heard of this idea about getting sponsors and working with brands. But that whole process just feels so overwhelming. It feels very amorphous. It feels like there's all these different steps that you need to do. And I don't know anything. Right. And so basically we started working from zero. I take that back. He did do a very early deal. He did a very early deal where a brand came to him and they were like, hey, we'll pay you this amount of money to like run, ads on your podcast. And so he just basically said yes to whatever number that they gave him because he didn't know like, oh yeah, sure. You're gonna pay me $1,000 to do like 20 ad reads. Like that sounds awesome. I don't know what the number was. It was something like that. And so he just was very inexperienced. And so over the course of the next basically couple of years, he has absolutely completely transformed his business. He went from really struggling to know whether he could make this podcast sustainable financially for him to basically beating brands off with a stick. And so, he's done, he also, in addition to the podcast, he has social media. So he's able to kind of amplify these campaigns across social media as well as the newsletter. But I want to just share a quick anecdote that actually isn't in the book about Paul's story, because I think that this will be a really eye-opening lesson for a lot of podcasters listening, which was that one of the most recent partnerships, most lucrative deals that Paul has ever done came recently from a brand that we all are very familiar with, probably, even if we're not in the lawn care space, which is John Deere tractor. Oh, wow. Right. We all know the John Deere tractor, that big green and yellow logo. We probably have all seen that at one point. Right. Yeah. And so John Deere is the behemoth in his industry. Mm-hmm. Right. And John Deere came to Paul recently and they said, Paul, we would love to collaborate with you. And so what a lot of podcasters do in this situation is they say, great, here's my media kit. Mm-hmm. Here's all my packages. Here's, A, B, C, D. Here's my pricing. Pick package 1 through 5. Right. And so instead, what, we have taught Paul, me and I have several sponsorship coaches on my team now, have taught Paul to do over the years is you do not do that. You don't say, here, pick one package. You say, let's get on a phone call. Yeah. Let's talk about what's going on, what's important to you. Tell me more about this campaign that you want to bring to life. And what the brand said, what John Deere said is they said, look, Paul, the largest trade show in our industry is happening in October. And you know what we would love for you to do? We would love for you to podcast in our booth for 3 days. We want you to bring all your friends and interview them. We want to interview people on the marketing team at John Deere Tractor. And we want to have our logo in the background while you're filming all these videos. It's the largest event of the year. All the press are there, all the photographers, all the videographers, all the key opinion leaders in this industry go to this trade show. And so tell us how much it's going to cost for you to be in the booth for 3 days.
So cool.
And so he basically named his price. And
$100 million
became $100 million. Generational wealth. Right. No, but for real. And so this I hope is a great example for anyone listening that the whole point of the book and that kind of the central theme throughout the book is how do I have this mindset of creativity when I am talking with the sponsor? Because I may have been used to doing certain types of partnerships or certain types of deals, but as simply asking the brand, what is success to you? What is your goal with this collaboration will allow you to come back to them and say, oh, well, knowing that that's your goal, what about we do this thing over here that I've never done before, but it seems like that's going to help you move the needle.